It was just one massive rotation. We thought the building was coming apart.
It was just unbelievable how high it would throw debris in the air.
Holy!
It was right on top of our head.
It happened so fast and so quick.
First thing I could do was just duck under the desk and hope that it didn't come through where I was sitting.
Arkansas actually is very common to see tornadoes. We've actually seen a tornado every month of the year in Arkansas. But of course, there are certain times of the year that are more likely to see tornadoes. Most tornadoes occur in Arkansas in the month of April and the month of May, but we've actually been seeing a little bit of an uptick in fall months of October and November, where they've been seeing tornadoes across the state as well. On March 28th, 2020, the weather conditions across Arkansas were very unseasonably warm and mild ahead of a cold front that was moving in from the plain states. And so the temperatures and the dew points were well above average for this time of year and was very unstable ahead of that front. The conditions were pretty favorable for severe weather. We started watching a few storms pop up off to the west of Jonesboro.
Jonesboro is basically the second largest city in the state of Arkansas in landmass. We have over 82 square miles. We are basically the hub of Northeast Arkansas, not only for healthcare, but retail. The mall at Turtle Creek is basically what we call the center of Jonesboro.
I'm Brandon Baxter. I do the morning show on the Big 107.9 KFIN, a proud resident of Jonesboro, Arkansas. I still remember when the mall at Turtle Creek opened in 2006. It was a big deal for our whole community in Northeast Arkansas, and it became a hub for so many people to travel to Jonesboro. In the past, people had to travel to Memphis or to Little Rock to go to a mall like that, and all of a sudden, Jonesboro came alive, and the entire city changed because of the mall at Turtle Creek. Weekends at the mall were completely ridiculous. It was jam-packed. You were lucky to find a parking spot. And there was an energy about the mall at Turtle Creek and the excitement of people, not only from the city of Jonesboro, but the entire Mid-South coming in and being able to shop and enjoy those stores.
At the time of the tornado in March 2020, I lived in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and worked as a security guard for the mall at Turtle Creek. The mall at Turtle Creek was closed due to COVID. All but 5 stores were closed, and that was Target, Dillard's, JCPenney's, Best Buy, and Barnes & Noble.
My name is Vicki Thompson. I was living in Jonesboro, working for Barnes & Noble as an assistant manager. Being in a large mall, most weekends it was one of our busiest times. Because of COVID and people afraid to get out and shop too much, we had a lot of customers coming in and doing store pickups or curbside pickup. We had scaled down on our staffing. I had a cashier, I had a bookseller, and I had a barista working that day.
So when I first got to Barnes & Noble that day, there may have been like a couple people in the store at most. I was in the back just rearranging CDs.
I was working as a cashier at the front of the store, but then we would have to do extra cleaning. At that point, people were pretty concerned about it. The store was pretty much empty except for the employees.
As the front was moving into Arkansas, the cold front, the clouds broke away, and the temperatures at noon across northeast Arkansas were in the 70s, so it became a little bit more ripe for tornadoes in the afternoon. The Severe Storms Prediction Center put out a tornado watch around 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
We knew that we had some severe thunderstorms coming through. We'd been through storms before, never expected anything to come of it.
There were no crazy weather conditions. We were just trying to be on the lookout in case anything happened.
My bookseller up front was just kind of walking around looking to greet customers, and he was keeping an eye on the sky.
I was standing at the front of the store. We had big glass doors, and so I was just standing there watching the storm develop.
And when he saw the clouds rolling in our way, he kind of gave me a heads up and said, you know, hey Vicki, these clouds are looking a little rough.
We started getting rotation signatures that were showing some type of rotation trying to develop in those storms. And as they kept moving further north and east, those rotation signatures got stronger and stronger. About 4:45 that afternoon, we saw the signature for possible rotation. So the National Weather Service issued a tornado warning at that time for Craighead County and Jonesboro.
So I went to my wife and my son, and I told them, like I do for every severe storm, it was time for me to go to work. It's just what we do. We have to go in and we have to be there. We have to serve our community. I kissed them goodbye, and I told them not to worry, that everything was probably going to be okay.
I left for 2 weeks for military medical refresher training to Camp Shelby, Mississippi. Got back after 2 weeks. We were running low on supplies, and so I was like, let me go get some supplies for the kids and some books for my daughter. Anytime we used to go outside, she wants to always stop at the Barnes & Noble's kids section.
Barnes & Noble's was her favorite place to be at. She loved the toys and the books.
When I was driving outside, it was a pleasant weather. People on the road and everything was normal. The siren started to go off, and I was trying to drive straight back to my home where we live at. And my wife was like, no, it's too many sirens going off, and phone's like sending all these warnings and alerts. I want you to, stop somewhere close by. So the nearest place at the traffic light was the mall.
As we're standing at the door, this lady got out of her car at the front of the store, and she asked if we were open.
She said, please, come on, hurry up, get inside. We just thought it was like a kind of little heaven for us that day and that time.
So she motioned for her husband to open the car door. They got their child out of the back seat, and they came in.
Well, around 5 o'clock is when I was making the interior rounds of the mall, making sure everything was locked down, and I got a call from the mall general manager stating that a tornado watch had been issued. And I was informed to get to our security office to get our north cameras pointing towards the bad storms.
It was obviously starting to get pretty bad, and Vicki was watching a particular cloud that she said she didn't feel good about. It was just giving her weird feelings.
And I said, there's a little band right there in front of those black, blue, green clouds. And I said, if that thing just makes one little tiny arc, I said, it's gonna turn into a tornado. And so we're looking, and as I say this, it forms into a funnel, a little pencil-sized thin funnel, and it touches the ground, and it's coming straight for us.
As we went throughout the day, it didn't seem like something that was unprecedented. We didn't think this was going to be one of those massive storms, and we were very, very wrong.
On that day, the Doppler radar indicated rotation, so a tornado warning was issued for Craighead County and the city of Jonesboro, and by 4:50 p.m., we saw a tornado actually on the ground moving into south central Jonesboro.
There it is!
The general manager called and said that a tornado had touched down and informed me to get our north cameras pointing towards the way that the tornado had dropped. Watching it on camera, honestly, it looked like something you would see out of a Hollywood movie. Literally, that's what it felt like. I started thinking to myself, this is really happening. And as soon as it dropped down, I could tell which direction it was coming towards because I started seeing the amount of debris in the clouds just flying across the city, and I could tell as it was getting closer, it was getting bigger.
My name is John Smith. I live in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and I'm a mechanic at German Auto Tech. I live alone with my dog Chelsea, right behind where I work. That Saturday, I was just on the phone with my girlfriend, taking it easy. Couldn't really go anywhere because of the pandemic. We had just started sheltering in place. I knew there were storms in the forecast, but I didn't really know how severe they were going to be. About an hour before the tornado hit, I got an alert on my phone from a local TV station that there was a tornado warning in my area. There was definitely a different feel in the atmosphere. It felt different. You could tell that there was something going on. I wasn't 100% sure there was a tornado at the time, but there was just like a pressure, there's just a change in pressure that I could feel. And eventually the tornado sirens started going off, so I knew it better be safe than sorry, and I had to take action. And I decided to go to my uncle's shop to take shelter. I wasn't very sure if I should trust the house I was living in at the time, and I thought that the shop would be a safer place to shelter. My dog Chelsea and I made our way to the shop. I entered the back and we were trying to find the best shelter. I was trying to find the center part. I was actually worried that the other side, there was a billboard. I didn't want the billboard to fall in on me. So I decided that the kitchen would be the best area to take shelter. Soon after that, I went to the back door just to see what was going on. And a minute or two after that, the tornado touched down. I decided to run and go into my shelter spot.
Oh my God. Come on, Chelsea. Come on, Chelsea.
The tornado came very, very fast. It hit as I was still in the hallway, and at one point I tripped and fell. I had my dog by the collar, and we basically crawled into the kitchen, and I got on top of her and just kind of held on. At that time, I could hear like glass breaking and just wood and boards and just all kinds of destruction going on.
Oh my God. Come here. Oh my God.
And it wasn't really sinking in what was happening. I was kind of in shock.
From the EAB Weather Center, this is Brandon Baxter, and there is a tornado on the ground, a large tornado on the ground in Jonesboro.
We live in the Valley View area of Jonesboro, so I knew that if the storm held through, that Valley View was going to be right there in the striking distance, and I was probably 2 miles from Valley View. What the radio station doing the coverage, in the back of my mind the whole time, I'm sitting there hoping and praying that my wife and son are okay.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
That particular day, I was filling in for the battalion chief. Went to headquarters, picked up our battalion ride, and made my way back to Station 3. And I told the guys there, I said, if that thing's gonna come up, this way, I said, let's walk out in front of the station and see if we see anything. It looked like the entire cloud system was just rotating. It was just one massive rotation.
Oh, there it is. Okay, we do have a tornado. Yep.
It was a well-defined tornado. You know, everything around us for the most part is commercial. All the restaurants, the mall, probably two of the busiest intersections in the city were in the direct path of the tornado that day. I can remember we were discussing the trajectory of that storm. You know, if that thing keeps going the way it's going to split the city right down the middle. All four of us believed that thing had made a right turn and it was coming straight at us. It looked like it was coming right down the road toward the fire station. You know, we took shelter in the safe room of the fire station. I can remember the building was popping. We thought the building was coming apart.
I said, we gotta go. Tornado has touched down. We need to go to our safe room.
She said, come on, hurry up. I just saw the tornado, the twister coming in our direction.
Once I saw the lady's reaction that, hey, this is coming our way, we gotta go find a shelter, I was really shocked. I was like, this is not happening.
They were very, very pleasant and amiable, and they followed me, and I was behind them, kind of herding them towards the back.
My manager and the other bookseller were up front. They rushed back, tell me we need to get to the back because the tornado just touched down. So we go all the way to the back to the break room.
By the time we got to the back corner and through the children's department, the electricity was already flickering off and on.
It was just like a hole forming in the pit of my stomach. I was just completely caught off guard. I had no clue what to do. I didn't even know that this could happen.
I had never seen a tornado firsthand in person, but I've always saw videos and recordings of them kind of swaying back and forth. This one didn't really do that. This one, it's beeline dashed straight towards myself, the mall.
By the time we got ready to shut the break room door, all the lights went out. So we just kind of went to the back corner and we kind of huddled together there for a little bit. At this point, we weren't worried about COVID and being in close contact.
We all kind of like stormed in and tried to shut the door, and you know, within probably a few seconds, it was revolving through. It was right on top of our head.
First few seconds, we don't hear anything. There was no noise, there was no roar, there was no debris that we could hear moving. Just sounded like the wind was just rattling the tiles or the shingles up on the roof.
We heard some shaking, felt a little bit. We saw the lights flicker a little bit, and a couple ceiling tiles fell out.
One tile just kind of lands on my forehead. Didn't hurt. It startled me because we're in pitch black.
Main fear for me was my daughter. Like, you know, I can do anything that can happen to me, but just trying to save my daughter. I was like, you know, holding her towards my chest and trying to bend down to see, like, you know, nothing happens to her. If something happens, let it happen to my body.
My hands and legs were literally shivering. I had no idea what's going to happen. I started praying, God, please keep us alive today. I don't want to die. I want to see my daughter grow. You know, she's really little. She's a baby.
As soon as I realized that it had hit the mall, first thing I could do was just immediately just duck under the desk and hope that it didn't come through where I was sitting. The one shred of fear I had in my mind was my wife. She called me and said that it had been reported that it was in the mall. She told me she loved me, and I said I loved her. And the phone lines went dead. I honestly thought that I wouldn't get to see her after that.
So on a typical Saturday pre-COVID, 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, end of March, the buildings that were hit would have had several hundred people, if not more.
I walked outside and saw just the destruction, and I could see the funnel clouds moving across the neighborhood behind the mall. And it was very, very surreal.
It happened so fast and so quick, we could not even imagine that it ever happened to us. It took like 2 seconds and it was gone.
I was a little nervous because we lost a little bit of power for a second and we lost a couple ceiling tiles, but I didn't think it was gonna be any crazy damage. I thought, well, we're just in here for now, and when everything calms down, we'll just go out there and get back to work and everything's gonna be normal and fine.
I was just thinking, we're okay, we're in a safe area. To my thinking, I don't think that we have too much going on. Never in our wildest dreams did we even for a minute think that we were going to come out to that much devastation.
My manager opened the door to go out first, I believe, and when she opened the door, the rest of us followed.
As we are coming out, we can see the kids' department and we can see the sky, and everybody is just shocked at the devastation that we saw.
This is tornado hitting. I'm getting drenched. I'm going to try to turn this around so that you can see.
It was just like a smack in the face. I never would have imagined that much damage. Everything was knocked over and destroyed, and it was just insane.
All the ceilings was dangling down, the pipes, the books, everything was destroyed, the counters, the computers, everything.
There wasn't a piece of roof intact. All you could see was wiring, frame stuff, books everywhere. And everything from the front of the store was in the middle of the store. Tables overturned, bookshelves overturned, books, roof debris.
The pretty looking, good looking store was all torn down, fully damaged. And I could not believe my eyes. It was raining inside the store.
There were 4 of us in there, the 3 guys assigned to Engine 3 that day, and myself as a battalion chief. I can just remember the sound of the building popping, and I wasn't sure if the building was coming apart or if things were landing on the building. And then all of a sudden, it got quiet. And I thought, well, either we're right in the middle of it or it's past us. And I give it another second or two, and we exited the safe room and kind of looked out toward the front of the fire station. We could see the destruction and stuff across the road. I said, guys, we've got to go. I said, there's a lot of stuff messed up out there. We've got to go. We couldn't see it from the backside where we were at. It was still on the ground. It was still moving across. Probably by the time we left the station, it was probably about the airport.
My name is Sterling Bennett Saul. I live in Jonesboro, Arkansas. and I am a corporate pilot. My dad was actually a pilot growing up. I always thought it was pretty cool that he did that, and then I started working out here in Jonesboro at the airport and was fueling airplanes. And I had a really nice boss who had his own airplane and let me use it to take flight lessons in, and took one lesson and absolutely loved it and just kept taking lessons and became a pilot. Saturday, March 28th, I was just getting to the airport. We had just gotten the plane pulled out and gotten it fueled up.
Everything was going fine. Pilot was there. At that point, just waiting on passengers. That's when it had started to rain, and we put the plane inside one of the hangars.
We knew that we were going to have some weather that we were going to have to deal with. There was severe storm cells on their way, and we were either going to have to depart before the cells arrived or depart after the cells arrived.
Weather started to pick up. Clouds were rolling in, kind of started to circle a little bit. Nobody really thought anything of it. We've had, I don't know, 8 or 10 scares before, but nothing actually ever came from it. The next thing we know, we see a pretty good sized tornado over the town, and it was just tearing stuff up.
This is wild, dude. Holy.
I noticed that a couple people were standing out front of the airport that don't normally stand there, and they were all looking out, looking for something. And I asked them, I said, "What are y'all looking for?" And they told me that there was a tornado in the area, and it was on the ground, and it was coming towards the airport. And then I just stood there and started watching with them, and probably in about 3 or 4 minutes, it didn't take long. You could see the tornado start coming through town. That's when I took out my phone and I started videoing. There's a building on the other edge of the airport, and I have the video of just all the metal just being completely extracted from the top of that building. And it was just unbelievable how high it would throw debris in the air and how strong and fast it was.
We could see all of the electricity transformers getting blown up, glass, pieces of cars. It was just awful. We couldn't tell exactly what direction it was coming, so we were all standing on the back deck, just watching it go through town.
As soon as it got over the fence onto the airfield, we knew that it was coming directly at us.
At that point, we realized it was time to find cover. There's a long tunnel that runs through the middle of the building, and it's basically just a 10-foot culvert that's about halfway buried underground.
I think it's metal enclosed with some side rails that are cemented into the ground. So we all ran into that hallway. It was about the safest place that we could go. Everybody is just screaming, "Get in the hallway, get in the hallway, everybody get down, close your eyes, put your head down, put your hands over your head."
Laid down, we're weaving our bodies in between the railings, trying to keep from getting sucked out of the building.
If this whole building starts going, maybe I can just hang on to these metal rails and stay here. We did get a pretty good hit. You could feel the ground move a little bit, and you could feel the vibrations through the ground. The doors on both ends of the hallways were both swinging open, and it felt like you were inside of a wind tunnel.
Anything you could really imagine was coming through the building. A lot of debris, glass, metal, pieces of the ceiling, lights, some of the plants that were in the building, dirt.
You can't breathe in, you can't open your eyes. There's really nothing you can do but hold on and just wait it out.
The main things that were going through my mind at that time were just focus on surviving and doing whatever you have to give yourself the best possible chance of making it through it.
I couldn't see anybody because of all the dirt and glass and stuff that was blowing through the tunnel. I had my face down and my arms covering my face. That way I didn't get glass in my eyes. But it was kind of something out of a horror film. Everybody was screaming, a couple people were crying. And the thing that kind of scared me the most is some of the hangar doors came off and crashed into the side of the tunnel that we were in, and it made a really loud boom. One of the planes got thrown into the side of the tunnel, and at that point, I was kind of thinking, this is it. I need to say my prayers and get ready to meet my maker.
You don't hear much of anything other than people yelling out what to do, you know. Keep your eyes closed, keep your eyes closed, hold on, keep your heads down, keep your heads down.
The part of us laying down in the tunnel would have probably been no longer than 45 seconds, but it felt like 30 minutes.
Once the tornado eventually passed, I wanted to go out there and check on the airplane, see if the airplane was okay, see if there was anybody outside that you know, might have been hurt. There were flagpoles that were completely bent or just knocked over. There was tons of dirt and a lot of tree limbs thrown all through the parking lot, a lot of broken glass.
I walked out and there were generators laid on their side, tractor was turned over, the King Air was pushed up against the side of the tunnel, the wing was broken off of it, door was broken off of it.
This isn't a small plane. It's not like a little single-engine propeller plane that you use to train in. This is a big multi-engine plane, and it weighs a lot. And it's moved from one side of the hangar to the other. It's got its tail completely ripped off. The door is absolutely ripped off the hinge. There's another plane that's pushed into it, another plane pushed into that one. The plane is completely turned probably 90 degrees, and it's back up against the wall that we were laying inside of. I just couldn't believe that it got thrown that far, being as big as it is.
The path of it looks like it went through the mall area. There's power lines down all over through here.
As I pull into the mall parking lot, there's debris still falling from the sky. I immediately noticed that Barnes & Noble was just completely demolished. The roof was collapsed in. There was merchandise everywhere. Then you start looking for people that are hurt, injured, or possibly dead. We could hear somebody inside the building yelling for help. We made our way to the back of the store where one of the storm shelters is located, and there we found 2 employees and then a family with a small child.
He says, "Are you guys okay?" And we're hollering, "We're okay, we're fine."
We helped carry the baby out, and we escorted all the people out to the front of the store.
We were just trying to step on places where there wasn't as bad of a mess and where it was not so slippery.
It was a slow progress going through and getting out of the store because there was so much stuff on the floor, and you would step on something and you didn't know if you were going to slide or fall because it was piled on top of one another.
Any one of us would have decided to stay anywhere behind the door, not behind the door, but in front of the store, anywhere, you wouldn't be sitting here, honestly. That was like death right behind the door.
Me and everyone present in the room got lucky that day. I really thank God for saving us, and the lady who called us inside that day, she was like an angel for us.
After a little bit of a cool down period, we kind of dug my truck out of the hangar a little bit, got in it, started driving around the airport, checking on all the people, buildings, making sure everybody was okay. There was a hangar out there.
Planes that were inside of hangars or just sitting out on the ramp, they're just completely thrown all the way across the airfield. They're upside down, their landing gears broke, they're just laying on their bellies. They're split into 3 or 4 different sections. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I couldn't believe it.
A total of, I think it was 46 planes were damaged, 35 were totaled, and 9 were repairable. Despite all the damage and crazy wreckage, there was no major injuries. After seeing everything that had been torn up and walking outside and seeing it all, I mean, I was just honestly so happy to be alive.
That tornado was a long-standing tornado. It was on the ground for about 20 minutes as it ripped through the city of Jonesboro.
The tornado actually traveled about 12 and a half miles from touchdown to a dissipating northeast of Jonesboro. This tornado was actually categorized as an EF3 tornado with sustained winds or maximum winds at 155 miles per hour.
I can remember thinking, I've got to come up with a command post. Where do I need to put it? And my next thought immediately went to, there's going to be a lot of casualties. I've got to find some place to put the injured and unfortunately the dead.
We start doing a mass call out. We call out the entire police department. We call out the fire department. We call out everybody we can to assist us. At this point, I leave the mall to go start finding other places that have been hit by the tornado and that damage has been caused. I found a neighborhood directly behind the mall that had been destroyed by the tornado. We had ruptured gas mains, we had power lines down, sparking all over the place.
Watch the power lines, man.
We find a lady in a house that's just collapsed around her in a bathroom, and she is uninjured, completely fine. We get her out and about, and then we start checking the rest of the houses. But the neighborhood had already come out and started doing self-checks themselves. They were going from house to house. They were saying they knew that this neighbor was out of town or this neighbor was here, and they had already talked to them. So the neighborhood basically came together and took care of itself.
You know, one of the things I love about this part of the country is, you know, neighbors take care of neighbors. You go in those neighborhoods enough, you know those people, and you feel an attachment to them. And, you know, it's in a way kind of like family, you know. You may not remember their names or anything else, but you remember where they live, and, you know, that was kind of rough.
The storm literally touched down right across the highway from us within half a mile of the radio station. And we saw a tornado literally going right down the major thoroughfare of our city, causing destruction. I had the chance to check on my wife and son after the tornado had done the damage. Obviously, when you're in wall-to-wall coverage, you know, you're trying to protect people. My wife and son were okay. We got very lucky that Valley View didn't have a direct impact from the tornado, but you know, the residual effects of that are the fact that, you know, my son, who is 11 years old, he has an anxiety and a fear of storms.
The front of the shop was pretty much almost wiped out. There was cars parked in front that were now across the street. The back of the shop where the garage doors were, that was bowed out. The walls were, you know, not in the correct position compared to my house. My house was basically untouched. Well, having worried about being in my house, if it could actually withstand a tornado, and deciding to go to the shop, and then the shop getting hit and not my house, kind of blew my mind.
We were lucky enough that in this case we had no deaths reported. There were 22 injuries, but no deaths, and for an EF3, that's pretty remarkable for a city the size of Jonesboro.
The idea that COVID came in and forced so many of those different businesses and restaurants to alter their regular plan of business, the fact that there weren't people in the mall, that most of the stuff coming out of the mall was being brought out and done curbside, that restaurants weren't sitting there occupied at full capacity. It ended up being very lucky.
Not a lot of good has come out of COVID. If I can say anything positive about it, that saved a lot of lives that day. In that few minutes right there, it saved lives.
It was just a blessing, I guess, in disguise that COVID had hit. Had this not been for COVID, there'd have been, I don't know, 2,000 to 5,000 people inside the mall at any given time. It would have been a very catastrophic event. There would have been mass casualties. The injuries and death toll would have been outrageous.